Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode on the rest of the iceberg. Today, we're going to be talking about fate.
I think fate is like this concept. It's not real. There's no way fate is real. Because, okay, actually, no, that's a lie. There are certain parts of fate which are probably true in life. Things like your death. Maybe not actually, I don't know. But there's so much about fate that's so vague and generalized that it doesn't make sense. I think there are certain things that can be like, oh, it was a complete choice of chance or whatever you want to call it, and it makes it into like this whole thing. Oh, it's fate. So it's fate that I met this person, but it's not real. Fate is like this idea. Sure, you might take a class with someone. They might take the same subject as you. You end up like going and getting this relationship out of it, but it's not really fate.
Yeah, I had a question. Do any of you guys feel like you met someone by fate? Like, I know, like, a lot of people with, like, they meet someone and they're just like, oh, it was definitely fate that I met you. Like, they could be, like, in, like, a proper, like, relationship. Or it could just be, like, a friend or something.
I don't know. I think, one of my primary school friends, like, I had, like, three best friends in primary school. And this year, like, one of his best friends from his secondary school came here, and when she met, she was like, oh, do you know this guy? And I was like, yeah, he was like my best friend in primary school. So that's kind of like fate, I guess, because it's like suddenly you met each other, like probably had a shared friend, then we ended up becoming friends as well.
I think fate and coincidence are two things that get really mixed up. Because that could also just be coincidence that she came to our school now.
So how would you differentiate the two?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about that.
Fate to me always seems like something. Like when I talk about fate and then coincidence just seems like more reality. Fate to me feels like something almost spiritual or like just otherworldly. Like fate feels like it's out of my control. Coincidence, like nobody's controlling it. Fate in my eyes is controlled by this being up in the sky or anywhere
That
else.
could be your bias.
Yeah, it could.
Your bias
Yeah.
is that I don't want to believe in fate, so that means I don't have free will.
Yeah.
That's like you.
I think it depends whether you think like humans have free will or not. Or there's like, you know, it can be like if you look at it from a religious perspective, it can be like, oh, you know, God orchestrates everything. Like no one has a say in what they really want to do in life. But then like that's kind of depressing because it means no one really has any choice about what they want to do. And like,
Yeah.
no matter what
Often
happens.
religion is about a test of you. Your religion is like a test of what you believe, and if you will end up going into this whole will you choose good choices kind of thing. That is what the religious life is. That is what, because the end result in at least a lot of monotheisms is that there's heaven or hell. Christianity, Islam, which is what a Muslim follows, and in case you didn't know, and there's so much like this. I mean, in Islam, it's predetermined your birth and your death for certain. And when I was doing a bit more research on it, I found out that your happiness and your unhappiness apparently is already decided.
Yeah, like what
That's
you've
pretty
talked about
deep.
is like predestination and
Yeah.
stuff. That God's already aware of what you're gonna do. God has always like
He's written the
basically
book.
he's planned your future and he knows what it looks like. So it's up to you, and it is like that's like kind of the debate on like free will and stuff. But like the things you choose to do in your life, you have to question whether it's actually you or whether it was God that kind of saw that and he's just gonna let it happen. Even if you do bad, even if you get, or even if you face like terrible consequences in your life, God knows that was gonna happen and he didn't stop it.
So he's testing you in a way. Like life is just one big test.
Yeah.
And, you know. And if you pass, if you do okay, you get to go to heaven. And then if you fail and you like become a bad person, you go to hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it's already all planned out, then what is your say in this? What are you going to... How will you be able to do anything if it's already written out? Because say he wrote out that you're going to murder someone for whatever reason, then how is that you?
And like,
And it completely bashes any argument in sociology. Like the whole subject of sociology, I feel like, if that fate is a real thing, is almost useless. I mean, if you really think about it, sociology is the study of society.
Yeah.
How society was, how society is, how that will shape society in the future. If all of our fates are written out, it doesn't matter how society was in the past. It's just going to be the same for the future. No one, I mean, and it just doesn't make sense then. The nature versus nurture debate. If your surroundings, it doesn't matter then. It could just be fate.
Nothing matters.
Nothing
case,
matters. Like, what is the point of like doing anything that is exponential?
It's really depressing because you just like want to sit there. Like if something bad happens, then you wouldn't want to change it and you wouldn't want to try and make things better because you'd be like, oh, this is what's meant to happen. I should just let it happen.
I mean, it almost sounds like they deserve it. And it's like God said it, so they deserve it. That's not true. Maybe it's not true. I don't know what these people have done. Maybe they've done something terrible.
Sometimes people just don't deserve bad lives, and sometimes you need to try and improve your life and like try and make things better. Like even if like it won't work out, and even if like there is some God being like, ha, your life is going to be awful, at least you should try. I feel like you should at least try and make your life better.
Yeah. I just feel like with that, I've always had like this thought in my mind, because like my parents' religion and stuff, it just like it always seems to me maybe it's just because of reincarnation, and maybe you were just reborn and you're just facing the consequences of your previous life which you have yet to face. And I like the idea of karma. Like you'll get your karma either before or after you do something bad, or even something good. You'll just get it eventually. And so that might just be like if you face something bad in this life, to me it's like maybe I did something wrong in my previous life and I'm just facing the consequence now rather than I did then.
But you weren't that person. How do you? It's like blaming the. What? Go ahead.
Because the thing is, you don't remember anything. If you were theoretically reincarnated, you won't remember anything. So you can't really call yourself the same person.
I feel like some people could argue you are because your soul is the same. Like your soul is
Your
just
soul
in, it can be in a different body, in a different form, but your soul remains the same. So the things that I'm doing in this life, if I'm like reborn in another, my soul's still the same, and I'm still that person.
Adds to the argument you can't grow as a person.
Yeah, it's also
So your
related
soul
to
is the same.
nature versus nurture.
You still have the opportunity to do good in your other lives, though. It's not like you're always destined to do bad and you're always going to face bad consequences. At one point, you might live a really good life.
Yeah, but why should almost a new person every time have to go through that?
I've heard of stories that are like people having dreams about their past lives, things like that, and like feeling like they've been in this place before, like a sense of like deja vu or like nostalgia and stuff like that. I think that's interesting. That is a bit sad though, because it's like, no matter how hard you try in this life, like maybe your soul has been like eternally like what is it
Condemned.
like condemned by God to like always like no matter what body it's in, to have a bad life and to be miserable because like either because like the soul did bad things in another body, or I don't know, it's because like God willed it. It's pretty sad.
Not only that, but I mean there was a debate. There was a debate not so long ago that if someone has Alzheimer's, can you blame them? If they have a completely different life afterwards, can you blame them for all the sins they've done in the life before that? Is because it's not the same person anymore. It's a new person.
So say they were a murderer before they got ill,
Yeah.
would you still punish them?
Would you still punish them?
Alzheimer's just when you lose your memory.
Okay, but sometimes, dementia, you can get like dementia from attacks or something like that. I forget if it was Alzheimer's or dementia. You're right about Alzheimer's being in older people, but dementia can happen in anyone, I think.
No, but isn't it when
as
you
well.
lose your memory?
Yeah, but you also lose a lot about yourself. Like,
Yeah. Like people have claims of like them just like their whole personality switching up.
It's like dissociative identity disorder is when like a system has like more than one alter. Like I read about it. Like how these like different alters have different personalities and different ages at times and different like appearances sometimes. And it's a whole thing you can argue like is one person like how permanent are our personalities and how permanent are our memories, or is like what makes us us.
Like, have you ever heard of like the accident with Phineas Gage? Pretty sure we
I was
learned it
gonna
in
say
biology.
yeah.
Like how he got a pole like stuck all the way through his eye, and then it went through his brain, and his whole his whole personality changed. So it's kind of like that. It's like,
But
would
he
like
changed to
he
be a
is
worse
still,
person.
yeah, he changed to be a bad person. So would you blame him for that when it really wasn't his fault?
Do you think that was because of what happened to him, like
physically.
Yeah, because he had to suffer that and no one else did, or just like a mental reaction.
No, that was. I think it was proven to be physical, right?
Like, did that trigger something in him that was already
No,
there?
I
Like,
your
think-
brain
Yeah.
is shaped in a very weird way. So when you are, I think a lot of problems with people who have personality disorders
Mm-hmm.
is that sometimes their brains make produce more hormones. Say the word.
Hormones.
That word. More so than other.
Hormones.
Thank you. And it causes like these disorders. I think that's what personality disorder is, and it to me it just completely ruins any argument of your mind is already decided for you, or your deeds and your actions, because that means if you've had any medicine, drugs completely destroy the argument of your deeds. Your deeds are not your own. People who take ecstasy and things like that, they completely change. They can become more truthful about themselves, and they release more emotions about themselves.
I know someone online with borderline personality disorder, and like they're a really nice person, but like sometimes they can be very narcissistic about themselves. Sometimes they're like I'm the best, I'm amazing. They have like a bit of a god complex, and it's interesting seeing how like that, like the brain reacts to that, and how like they don't mean to come across as arrogant, but they just end up saying that. It's like a way for them to cope with like disorder. I think that's interesting.
I've actually seen this video that I got showed in a lesson once, where it's basically one part of your brain is essentially silent, and when they do, I think it's like when there's a surgery that they do for epilepsy, and it's basically where they split the brain in half, and essentially the reactions that they received from those patients who went through that surgery, essentially their two brains had two different responses, and either one of the side of your brains is basically silent and mute, but those people who had gone through that surgery, their two sides of the brains and their two hands did two different things. So basically
I've
they
seen
would pick
something.
something up with their right hand, say their right hand, and then all of a sudden their left brain would like wake up, and when they were asked why they picked that up, their left brain wouldn't be able to respond. That type of thing. So when one side of your body does one thing, the other side is silent, and it can't actually answer anything as to what your other side has done.
I'm just piggybacking off of that. I watched this medical show called House, and in one of the episodes, I'm just trying to look for it now, they have that disorder.
Yeah.
And what it was is that I think it was like their left hand was being weird, so the
Mhm.
right side of the brain was,
Weird.
it wasn't controlled. Yeah, so the brain was split in two, kind of thing. And it turns out he had some sort of allergy or medical condition. So the left hand was trying to tell the right side of the brain was trying to tell the left side of the brain what was wrong, but it couldn't connect it.
Yeah. It
And
couldn't
therefore,
put it into words. It couldn't explain it.
it couldn't like literally connect the two sides of the brain. And so what, does this person have two brains? Does this mean person has two fates?
Are they two people?
Are they two people? How do you define the person?
Did again, like you can have two or more alters in like the same physical body. Like that.
Was it fate that they ended up having that illness?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the episode. It's really annoying me now.
Pretty sure. I'm not
But
sure.
it's not. But that's what I mean. It's not really fate then. That person had the side of the brain which was just deciding everything for them without realizing it. And then as soon as the person figured out what was happening, the patient or the doctor, I think. Oh, the episode number is called Both Sides Now. It's season 5, episode 24.
Of what?
House. Those people who are interested.
What's
Prime
it on
Video.
Netflix?
It's on Prime Video. Not sponsored. But is it fate then? I mean, that person is two different people almost, only speaking through one mind, and the actions of one side of the brain is being controlled by something that's still the person, but subconsciously.
Yeah, it's still them, but
It's
not
still-
at the same time. Like, they
Yeah.
can't control it.
So I would argue that's something against fate, because that person is still controlling it, just in the back of their mind. literally.
Unless it's what like Shaf said about there being a god,
Mm.
and they're the ones controlling the whole entire operation. they control the fact that they have the disorder, and they're controlling, well, not controlling, but like sort of like fix their decisions in mind.
Yeah, I think also with like that God argument, there's people who essentially claim that like this whole predestination argument, the idea that God knows everything, there's this argument that he actually doesn't, but he basically experiences our past, present, and future all at once. So there's really nothing he can do. But that brings into question whether he's really all powerful.
Yeah. It's like he like has power over people, but he can't like
He can't
directly
interfere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like because we have meant to have free will,
Mhm.
see if we make it like you know. I mean, like imagine being God. Imagine like seeing someone like murder loads of people, but you can't stop it because that's his free will. Like that's like the decision of the
then-
person.
That's the test.
That leads to the question: can God control our fates? Is he just the watcher?
I mean, when I was speaking to my brother about it, he said it's like not reading a book because you know the author knows the end of the story. So God's written your life for you, and every decision you make, it's not because God wrote it. It's because God wrote your personality, and He just. It's like when you know your best friend so well that you know exactly. Like I asked Chaff, who do you think I find fit out of all these people here? And she guessed correctly first try. She didn't even blink. She didn't
I
even
know.
think.
It's because like I don't know what it was.
She
I was
hasn't
I was surprised
I
I
haven't
got
got
it
a type.
right.
I haven't got a type.
Yeah, I was surprised
Oh.
I got it right because it was actually different. Like conventionally, like when we talk about her type, it wasn't her type. So it was like it was just looking at the video and looking at the people, and it was like, yeah, why not this one?
But either way, I just figured that, okay, so someone does know something about me, or does have an inkling, like not even an inkling, they know what I'm going to do next. And yeah, I'm not going to live my life to the fullest because I know someone else out there knows what I'm going to do next. It's almost like looking at the fate argument from that point of view.
Even though theoretically your fate is already fixed, I feel like it's silly not to try anything because it's not
Yeah,
confirmed.
maybe
We don't
we still-
actually know what's happening. We don't even know if fate exists.
Maybe we
So-
still have the ability to change it.
I feel like it's too risky to just give up.
We're all just struggling through life. We also got to try our best to like have a good life and not like mess up. I guess.
Mhm.
How do you sound Australian?
Why do I
Yeah.
sound? I thought I sound Australian. Do I sound Australian?
I don't know. The Google definition of fate is that
Sorry, did you say the Google?
the Google definition is that the development of events outside a person's control regarded as predetermined by supernatural power.
Mm-hmm.
So is it supernatural? That's the
Hmm.
big question. But no.
Does God exist?
Okay, maybe not that.
Coincidence, in
Yeah.
contrast, is a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. So, coincidence is more like chance,
Mm-hmm.
whereas fate is destiny, and I guess predetermined.
So fate and coincidence can't coexist in the world.
They
Okay.
could.
I feel like they could.
So fate is everything is destined before you.
Yeah.
Coincidence is something's happening by chance.
Yeah.
So if something happens by coincidence, it was already determined by fate, and therefore it would have been fate for like two people to meet. So it's not really coincidence that they had the same class or they had the same.
Because everyone always links back to fate.
Everything always links back to fate. So they can't really like, from what I understand,
Mhm.
coexisting in the same world would be a coincidence in itself.
Speaking of fate, the recent submarine sinking,
Yes.
Yeah. was that fate?
Well,
What something?
The
you look at the news.
Explain it, yeah.
essentially 5 people, 5 like mega rich people
Explorers.
Billionaires.
decided to go in this like basically like a little massive metal submarine. Well, it wasn't massive.
Oh wait, no, I think I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it got lost.
And they only had 2 hours of oxygen.
They had 96. well,
Yeah,
the whole
but
thing.
eventually, like today, from this date, they only have 2 hours left.
And essentially, it's assumed they're dead now. They called off the search and everything.
Like how many people are on it? Like what?
5.
And I think the
yeah,
youngest
like,
was
which-
19.
19.
They're
Yeah.
like who? Like famous people.
There's a Pakistani billionaire with his son.
Mm-hmm.
A British. a
This is a
British
hit to my
billionaire, I
country.
think.
Oh.
Someone who was like the great granddaughter's husband was the pilot
Mm-hmm.
of the ship. Oh, you know what's crazy though? They controlled the ship with like a $30 Logitech controller.
That was so stupid. They
For
controlled it with
being
a literal
Billionaires.
game controller.
Yeah, for investing so much money, they decided
Why
Is it true that they actually can't open it from the inside?
They can't,
They
even if
bolted
they went.
it.
even
Yes.
and the pressure
See,
as
I
came
well.
up with
Yeah,
that? Did
and then-
Elon Musk come up with that? Oh God!
No.
Actually, no. Why wasn't he on it? Why wasn't he on the submarine?
In RIP, we were questioning whether that was a smart idea or not.
What's
Because
the question?
yeah, because realistically, it was like, but like pressure, like we were considering like other factors, like would the pressure actually change? Like, would the pressure actually make it better that they did bolt themselves inside and you could only open it from the outside? Because then realistically, if someone was to accidentally open it, well, then they die.
But it wasn't a great decision because like now they're probably
They
dead.
could
But
have
add
added
oxygen.
like some sort of security measure, like
And
Yeah.
also, if you actually look at submarines today, even the ones they used in World War II,
Yeah.
they opened when they got to the surface.
Yeah.
From the inside.
But their one wouldn't even do that.
And it amazed me because how can you be so expensive and then use such a cheap controller? How can you be a cheapskate and a billionaire at the same time? Actually, that
Actually,
makes sense.
actually, that works.
Yeah.
Because there was literally this. Well, we all know Cinch, right? Yeah. Well, like
Sorry, who?
Cinch was
Yeah.
So rapper makes tons of music. Obviously, he literally did a collab with like Dave and stuff. And apparently he still uses Audi shampoo soap.
Yeah, but
And
that's
his girlfriend was the
Darren.
one. But like, it's like things like that, and it's like,
Yeah, but
well,
you also
would
have to,
you
like-
do that? But would you
That's-
do that for something so serious as a submarine
Yeah.
and going down
That's-
under so
I mean,
deep?
sometimes cheap stuff
And-
is more effective than like really.
But
good
would you
quality
risk
stuff.
it for something
comes
like
to
Yeah,
that?
okay,
I'll see
but
what
guys,
comes
I feel
out,
like we're
like-
looking at this so out of proportion. You need to weigh what you're doing as well. This is
Yeah.
talking about your hair care routine.
Yeah.
They're talking about 5
In
people's lives.
comparison, they're totally different things. They're like on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Guys, this is not a good look for Pakistan. What am I going to say to people when I'm Pakistani? Oh no.
You do have a bad rep.
Oh.
Oh dear.
That was shade. This isn't racism. But, it. Okay, so is that fake? Be realistic. Okay, so they didn't make a good controller. They bolted themselves inside. They didn't get the proper, like, warranty or something like that. They didn't check with, like, some sort of submarine checking service or, like, national service if it was seaworthy. They didn't check the controls, from what I understand. They told the news where they were going, but they didn't say how, and they didn't like send anyone above ground, like have a team above ground. Is that fake or is that stupidity?
That's stupid. That's really stupid.
That's stupidity.
That's really funny.
From what?
but the stupidity. If we're doing the whole fate argument, the stupidity could have led to their fate.
Yeah.
I don't really know if it's fair to say someone's fate is to die at the bottom of the ocean. The consequence is a direct link to your actions, which is something you chose, which was not predetermined. I chose to sit in this chair, and now I'm suffering the consequence of having to speak slightly louder for the mic.
Or quieter.
Or
Last
quite.
time you blasted.
Yeah, I'm really worried because I keep seeing it go red.
The editing was a nightmare for us.
We're still
getting-
editing.
I'm getting
Oh,
shade
dear.
for speaking.
Yeah.
I
definitely.
chose to do all 3 sciences for my A levels, and the consequence of that is I'm doing a degree that I might not even like anymore.
Yeah, I think I sort of phrased it wrong. It's not like consequence. It's not like fate necessarily.
Did
Is
God
it-
want that to happen to them? Was that God's big plan?
Is it misfortune?
Was it trying to teach a lesson?
Yeah.
Teach what lesson? Don't go into the bottom of the ocean without a good controller.
Don't make
Yeah, it's a
silly
good lesson.
mistakes.
Don't have too much money and too little sense.
So 5 people's death.
I mean, most billionaires are pretty horrible people. Like, so that, like,
Not
statistically
necessarily.
But does that
Not
mean they deserve to
necessarily,
die at
no.
the bottom of the ocean?
I
Like,
guess we have no right
we
to
have no right.
Yeah.
just.
What position are we in?
We're just for
Yeah,
random
I
people.
personally just wouldn't judge it, and I would say it was simply unfortunate, only because from the way I see it, they're gone, and so it feels wrong to judge the dead, in my opinion.
Mm.
Not only that, but it links onto the idea that, okay, it's fate. So therefore nothing anyone does is their fault.
Mm-hmm.
That is the worst. That's the one thing I hate.
That's
most about
actually
fate.
so true.
Yeah.
Because, like, consider murder
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, it's okay.
and rape. That is a conscious action that you decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That is, it's not fate because you decided with your own mind that you're going to do that,
Yeah.
regardless of how horrible it is.
And the effect it will have on that person.
Yeah. Or people, some group rapes and stuff.
That's true.
Crazy.
And
Yeah, I can't believe God is like a good person, like a good entity. Like
God is a good person.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean?
I'd be a
Like,
bit worried if he
God's
wasn't.
meant to be like standing for like all that's like good and like
Heavenly.
heaven and stuff.
Yeah.
So like but if that's the case, and like he would punish people who do things like rape and murder and like crime and stuff.
Leads to karma.
Yeah,
Karma is
I
my
somewhat
boyfriend.
believe in karma. I feel like it's just the influence of my parents again, but like I always say to people, yeah, that's your karma. And I said it
Too
to people,
much.
yeah, I probably said it to Peterson today, but I do.
What's it for?
I don't even remember. I don't. I
I've
say
never
it.
heard you say it.
I say it to her all the time in business when
I
something.
don't even
Some,
do anything.
yeah,
when you say
something
it.
like just something happens, or like when her laptop keeps on dying, like when we're editing, and it's just like, yeah, that's your karma, because but also like that's just her not thinking straight.
For not
Yeah, but then
you.
you could say that the whole submarine thing was karma for them not thinking.
Yeah,
about
I feel like
Lola.
But
some
then is that
people.
karma or is that a direct consequence of their actions?
But you're just, yeah, I feel like you're not thinking logically. If they thought logically and they like prolonged the actual planning process, maybe it would have gone right, and maybe they would still be here.
But is that karma or is it?
I don't think in this situation, to me, I wouldn't call that karma.
Yeah.
I would not call that karma.
Also, I will say I don't know anything about these people's lives, so I
Yeah.
don't feel right to
There you
judge and
go.
say it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe the 19-year-old would have been nice. Maybe he was a nice person.
he was okay. Again, he's 19. Like who? I can't even say that his dad. Maybe he was an ethical billionaire. They're rare, but they exist somewhere. 1% of the world.
There's probably like one. There's got to be at least one nice billionaire out there.
Definitely are, man.
Yeah. I feel like we're just
What's
like
he called? Bill
we're
Gates.
taking money as like a negative thing.
Mm.
Money equals
Like-
power. Power equals greed.
That's why so
Very
many
true.
celebrities are really horrible people. Like we talked about last time, celebrities.
Don't you idolize Taylor Swift?
Yeah,
Well, I don't idolize her. I think
you
like,
do.
for example, right now she's
You literally just started singing
No,
the
it's-
song.
No, I know. I really like her songs, and I think like with what she's been doing for the queer community and for women, for people of color is like she seems to really care about that. I think that's really great. But like she was dating this guy from like
Oh, Matt
1975
thingy.
who was Matty Healy, and apparently he's like really anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but
and really
that's
racist.
none of our business. She can date
Yeah.
who she wants.
No, but it's like a
And
problem
also,
because like
what you're
It's
saying
not
about
though.
her
No, I
being-
feel like that's the thing. Like, just because she has a platform, we're judging
Yeah,
her.
just
But like,
because
people
she's a
do it on the
celebrity.
daily. People around you are probably dating anti-Semitic people, racist people, but they look past it because they're in a relationship.
Yeah,
And
And
just,
also,
either
you're never
way,
gonna
it's
find
none of your business.
just because she's a celebrity doesn't mean she doesn't have her own rights to do
Yeah.
whatever she wants. Okay, she has a platform and people look up to her. So what she does might impact other people. They might assume that stuff like that's okay. But it's still her own decision.
Yeah, some people have like an unhealthy relationship with celebrities, but like they believe they have a relationship with them, like they know them on a personal level, and they have a right
no,
to judge
I
what
do
they
not
do.
think that. I do
but
not
they
think
don't.
that. I think she's very inspirational. I think she's cool. And I like her songs, but I do think she is a real person, and like and she like I do think her dating him for a while is problematic because number one, a lot of the stuff that she puts on social media like is very carefully regulated, so like we know that we are meant to see that. And also because like at that time she was still doing a lot of activism for what was it like Jewish rights and like the rights of people of color and queer people and stuff, and then she dates someone who's like very against all of that, and it's like really bad for her image and for like fans who are like people of color or queer people or like Jewish people
But
and
at the
stuff.
same time, you have no right to call her problematic because of that,
But
because it's her
also,
own right.
What you're
If she
saying
wants
about
to, then
her
she can.
supporting the queer community and supporting people of colour, she should do that regardless, celebrity or not.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
she
know.
has- It does not make her any better of a person. It should just makes her a person who's doing. I don't know how to explain it, but I
It's
feel
it's because they're
it's 'cause she's a
celebrities.
celebrity, and it's
They get all this attention for doing something that's normal.
Like
All
we
of
would
us-
at
like
least be
yeah,
considered
if,
normal.
like we all were pretty moral people, and we have the exact same morals as her, and yet she's getting praised for it
I think
because
like,
she's a celebrity.
I don't think she's like an amazing person. I mean, she's not the best person ever exists or anything. I just think like she
Because
has
I am.
donated a lot to. We can't donate like loads of money to charities that support like people, and we can't like send a message to the world about like like queer people deserve to exist, like people of colour deserve to exist.
but we
Jewish
can.
people
We're doing
deserve
that
to
right
exist.
now.
Well, yeah, but like we don't have anywhere near the platform that she does, so I think it's
Yeah, she
it's
has a
good
much,
for her to
She's
yeah.
using her platform
Yeah.
to her advantage.
Yeah, it's good for her to do that.
And for
like,
good, not just
yeah.
to her
Yeah, and for
advantage.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
but she should be doing it regardless. I agree with that. Like every celebrity should be like an activist for that sort of thing. 'Cause it's very important. And if you have at least some influence, like if I had influence, I would be like talking all about how important it is to support like everyone, like regardless of like gender or like
I guess that's
like race, ethnicity, stuff like that. Yeah.
Is it right to support everyone regardless of Hear me out before this
For
goes
religion wise.
for religion, because would you support the Taliban? They are doing everything they want to do because of their religion. They want to do it because they
Yeah.
believe what
They
what they're
are
doing is right.
religious based.
So ideally, based on arguments like that, we should support them. But I'm not really into that kind of thing. And
Well, I would not
believe the
support
same
them.
religion.
I would not support them. Like I think
I'm not
I mean,
saying
I
you
think-
would, but I'm just saying based off that kind of this is another
Based
discussion.
on that logic, it would mean you would support them, or not even support. You would respect it, basically.
I would
understand.
support anyone unless they are being discriminative towards someone, which in turn like restricts that person's rights. Like I think everyone should have equal rights unless
What
they're
about
abusing
murder?
those rights to like obviously no
Guys,
murder's
this is so
bad.
topic. Okay.
No, it's like, I believe like everyone should have equal rights unless people are abusing those equal rights in order to restrict other people's equal rights, which would be like, hate speech and restrict and like stopping girls from going to school, what Taliban did and stuff like that. So yeah, like I think
So my question is, if we're like against, or if we're like for everybody speaking their mind and stuff, say if we take figures who send like misogynistic messages or who have like misogynistic mindset, right? If we're
Tate.
allowing them, yeah, like Tate, if we're allowing them
And
to,
then take-
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
okay, right, yeah.
if we're allowing them to have a platform, do you think it was right that we ban him for his own views, they're his personal views, or because he's spreading it out on a platform to young people, is it right to ban him or not?
I think we should just ban him because he's like like what he's saying is having a huge effect. Like my brother goes to an all-boys school, and like loads of people at school like idolize Andrew Tate and talk about like how much they love him, and they're learning all
Very
this
dangerous
negative like
business.
propaganda about women, about queer people and stuff, and it's really bad. Like I think we should ban him because he is restricting other people's freedoms to like equal speech and free speech.
Such a
So for
joker.
people who like,
Guys,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just need to put this out there. I thought when you said Tate, I thought you were talking about the Museum Tate Modern, and I was like,
oh my God.
when did they send
Yeah.
misogynistic message? Did we go there as a school? But yeah.
But
Sorry,
for people who are like, say like the strongest feminists, like I mean like proper radical feminists.
Oh, like the ones
Right?
that
The
don't-
ones that
I-
like kill all men.
Yeah, the ones who
We
are
don't
who
need
do
men.
say kill all men and who say, oh, we should all just like I think it was like
Nina.
political.
No!
Yeah, it was like
No, I don't. I say all that jokingly. I don't. I like men. I respect men.
I like
Sure you
Nina
do.
2022.
Hate all
I like
men.
No, I
Men are
respect
gross,
men.
men are
I only
gross.
don't respect men when they don't respect women or people of colour or queer people or whatever. If they're like
Yeah,
being
but
like,
what about women that don't respect people? of
Well,
colour?
then I
Yeah,
don't
but
respect
then
you either.
What about arranged marriages though?
You
And
know
like
what?
the whole thing to do with love there.
what is
Of
what is the
course.
general consensus?
I feel like first we should
Sybil's all for it. She loves it.
hold on. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
and the successes of arranged marriages
Yeah,
are much higher than
they
love
are
marriages.
higher than normal love marriages.
The divorce rate is much lower. And
No,
I know what
'cause-
you're gonna say. It's because of like the cultural part of divorce and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
In Pakistan, divorce is actually looked up to. I know it sounds weird, but because you're allowed to take a divorce from Islam, and the whole thing about divorces in Pakistan is like it's like if you aren't happy, then you get a divorce. You do you, boo. That's
Yeah.
like the kind
No,
of
but how do you know that it isn't because they're unhappy, but because of their parents' expectations? Because it's a very traditional
true.
idea,
Yeah,
and speaking culturally, those parents are going to be very strict with that. If
Yeah.
the fact that they're having arranged, like typically in the past, arranged marriage, they wouldn't have a decision in whether they wanted to
no,
marry
that's a
them or not.
forced marriage. That's
Exactly.
different.
well, no, take
Not
like
necessarily- no,
yeah,
in the
in
pa-
like in like our culture and stuff. When like whenever you see it in like movies and stuff, it is typically your parents will set you up. Your parents will see them first. They'll know their job, how much they make and stuff, and they'll set you up and they'll invite you to their house. You have to pay a little
Drink a
something.
little tea,
Yeah,
give them some
yeah,
food.
always give them the tea. and then the parents were taught, and it's usually always the bride who stays quiet the whole time.
Yeah.
And then at the
She
end,
just sits there,
they
gives
get-
tea, offers
yeah,
food.
and then at the
So
very
they want
end,
you to look at like a mother, isn't it?
yeah, they want you to be respectful and stuff. But to do that, apparently you have to stay silent. And then at the end, you get a chance to talk. So, but with like arranged marriages, do you think that's fate that you met and you were arranged with that person?
No, that's a direct consequence.
That feels forced. It doesn't.
But-
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
But then you could argue that it was fate that the whole thing just happened.
Yeah, and like
I mean, my parents had an arranged marriage, and I don't think they seem happy. I hope they're happy.
Yeah,
they're happy.
some actually work out,
Yeah.
but like others.
I mean, your parents had love marriages, right?
my parents are like kind of both. Well, I don't know because
What would
They're
you say
like-
it is if you had to classify it as one? Okay.
like they had met before, like when my mum was going to like college and stuff. But then when it actually came to like the logistics of it, it wasn't. They didn't introduce it as a love marriage to their parents. It was literally like, okay, well we see this person, right? They saw my dad and stuff, and so the parents met and stuff. So it proceeded like an arranged marriage.
Cute.
It proceeded like one, but
Yeah,
it was
so it-
actually. A
But they had met before, and they had fallen
Scandalous.
in love.
No.
That's so cute.
That is adorable.
I don't like my parents were a love marriage. I have absolutely no experience with arranged marriages, but like I can see the pros and cons of both. I think. Like I think it's
How
good to
did your
marry
parents
someone.
meet, Moya?
I think it was at a wedding. I think.
Bears.
No. Like my dad was getting.
Imagine they eloped.
No. No. My dad's friend was getting married,
Cute.
and I think my mum was a friend of his bride, and then
Oh,
they met.
friend of a friend.
And that was in like God, like 2002, I think. Yeah, and they had me 4 years later.
I know this couple, right? Basically, they got married, and at their wedding, the bride's sister met her husband there. That's how
I
they
have heard
met.
like quite a few stories of that happening.
That's
actually.
so
like
cute,
people
I
meeting, like you know,
know.
like the bridegroom and the bridesmaid and the groomsman. They basically get
They
married.
look at each other whilst their
Yeah,
friends are
yeah,
kissing.
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah. It's like that's
You cute, you know.
literally, yeah.
You know,
That's
We should
actually
link up. We have to clean up after this, right?
Thoughts on eloping though?
Huh?
Eloping?
Eloping, guys. If you're eloping, you're desperate.
Imagine if you suddenly eloped, you have to like add like 2 more
Well,
things to the
sometimes it
wedding
needs to be
cake.
done though.
Sometimes, if the parents don't agree, then you're gonna elope.
Yeah, on a
You're gonna
cultural
do it.
perspective, sometimes that has to be done. Can't lie.
But you know what? I was gonna say something about love marriage. I'm completely forgotten.
Do you guys think it's fate when people fall out of love? Is that like it's just meant to be, or is it just?
Can you fall out of that? You can. Definitely.
Sometimes you
Yeah,
just,
it is
honestly, sometimes
possible.
you just have to roll with it. I can't lie.
That's so scary.
I know.
Imagine
No,
you're
I
in a
know
marriage
it
and
is.
it just goes, just that's it.
No,
It's
Yeah.
done.
But hold on, guys. I feel like we be real, guys. Have any of us ever been in like a serious relationship where you fell in love with that person?
I had never been in a relationship with anyone ever.
Nope,
So-
neither.
Mother.
No.
Did you listen to the end of the podcast?
No.
She said she would sacrifice us for 5 people
Right.
just
No, you
because
did actually.
just
No,
because
but also-
she knows us
No,
and
but
she
also
doesn't know them.
realistically, you know how we talked about the stress of an actual thing? Like, if I was looking at one of you guys dying on a train track, do you actually think that I would just ignore
Why
that?
didn't you say that?
No, but like, I was thinking like rationally, because I said from a rationally,
You're not
I
five
know
over
pretty
one.
much everyone's
Because I said
from
if you
right
think
now,
about it
including
rationally,
myself.
it is just 5/1, regardless of best friend or not. But then emotionally,
shouldn't
it's
matter.
different.
No, we're talking about what we would do, not what you'd rationally do, because you're not rational.
No,
Actually, you are
because
quite rational.
yeah, I am sitting in this chair. I'm rational.
Sitting in
But
this chair,
leaving.
Yeah,
staring at the lever that chooses us to die.
yeah,
not
it's
rational.
different.
Guys, this is the trolley problem now.
Back to
No,
fate.
Wait, is that-
see, yeah, that's the thing.
Favourite. You know what, guys? Let's just be real for a second, yeah?
Let's just be real.
I've already done my Be Real.
Okay.
I haven't done mine once.
Yeah, word.
I need to do mine today, but just be real for a second. I've learnt so much that when you gaze about the future, when you dream about it, like, oh my god, I can't wait. When we're like all in uni and we're going out for a night out, it'll be so much fun and blah blah blah. When you think about that and then you realise it won't happen, it hurts you so much.
It does.
It's
it does.
best to just live in the moment. And I was actually telling
Yeah.
someone
Live in
this
the moment.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Live in the moment, because I might not be your friend tomorrow,
Yeah.
but I should relish this moment today.
Yeah.
No, I'll be
And now,
fine.
midnight, I'm totally, that's it, we're done.
Yeah, no, but like low key, that is what it is. I feel like I need to stop thinking like just genuinely people need to stop thinking about the future and like have the relationship. That they
That's
have
why.
in the present.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Rest of the Iceberg. See you next time.
No, it just sounds so dead.
because I am dead. I'm very dead inside.
Resuscitate yourself.